welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another show. We've got the review of the Premier Division games, and we'll quickly talk about Sligo and St. Patrick's Athletic, who are obviously out of Europe. We'll get into them very quickly. Luke, JP, with us today. What's the story, lads? Are you well?
Right, lads, how are you?
Yeah. Brilliant stuff, brilliant stuff. I suppose I'll start with you, JP, and just general thoughts on Sligo and Pat's obviously bowing out of Europe at I was going to say the weekend, but it was Thursday at this stage.
I think both probably really, when the ties came out, probably expected it, to be honest, but I think Pat's more so will be disappointed after coming away from the away leg with a 1-0 lead and that they go through. Thought they done really well in the second leg. Conceded an early goal, and they could have folded after that, but they didn't. They kept battling until the final 10 minutes. And I've seen the penalty incident. I haven't seen much of it, but I've seen the penalty incident, and it was an absolute shambles of a decision. I thought, it hit the pass player in the hand, but it also hit prior to that, it hit the SSE player in the hand. So I think the referee I think Tim Clancy's right. The referee's giving it to the bigger club, and it reminds me of a time when we played the same opposition in the Brandywell. We had a referee, I think he was from Belgium or something like that, and every decision went for Sofia. It really did. And there was this one player kept throwing himself on the ground, and he wasn't even getting free kicks for it, and he wasn't getting cautioned. And obviously then the crowd are on his back, and he ends up scoring what turned out to be the first goal of the night, give them a 2-0 lead in aggregate. And it just felt something similar. They what some Pats were experiencing.
There was a bit of that, yeah. There was a bit of that going on, but of course, if I say I'm called biased, but there was a bit of I don't know. There's a lot of cynical fouling, let's say, from the Sofians in the game, which they're entitled to do, but it's up to the officials to control this. And I'm not going into the stuff at the end because we've talked about it already, but I honestly believe that the officials let that get out of hand in many ways. They kind of was born of that kind of stuff. You know yourself in games, they had no control at all in the match.
Whenever our clubs work their backsides off, they get into Europe, and when they're in Europe, they have to work even harder. They get to the stage that they get, and whenever you get into that stage, then you want the referee to be strong. You want them to be competent and clamp down early on, because when you get these, especially the Eastern European teams, they're going to be up to all sorts, and it's up to the referee to clamp down. And I felt that in our game against Riga, it was something similar in the Brandywell. I think we got a better referee in the second league. The referee we got in the first league was terrible, to say the least, although he did get the red card right, but I think it was about the only decision he got right in the whole game, to be honest. So unfortunately for some Pats, they couldn't do it.
They had chances themselves, I think, quickly, JP, even apart from all that, as I said myself. They'd be disappointed that they didn't take one or two of the chances. And I felt it was a case of when they were 1-0 down, if they took one of the chances, I just had this feeling they'd go through, either draw or maybe score again. But they didn't take a lot of their chances as well, which is disappointing, I guess.
Like, you never know what would have happened if that penalty decision not given. Goes to extra time, anything you saw in the first game against Murray, anything can happen. But at the same time, without the way goal rule, there was still plenty of time for some Pats to maybe push and try and send the game to extra time. As for Sligo, it was really just about coming back and playing for pride, really, after the first leg result. Viking, a very good side. Maybe their league position probably give you maybe Sligo a wee bit of false hope potentially. But we all know the Norwegian league is very, very strong. And losing out there is it's nothing to be ashamed of, really.
They'd be happy to won the match, the
fact that they've come back and they've put on a show for their fans. They've won 1-0. And I think they missed a penalty too, didn't they? So it could have been. I think they missed a penalty as well. So they put on a good performance in front of a sold out showgrounds, and as a supporter, that's all you can ask for. And the win for Sligo, all right, it's no consolation for them because they're out of Europe now. But the one is good for the league because of there, as we saw last week when UEFA released the coefficients. The League of Ireland is performing well in that sense, and everyone counts. And it's disappointing for Sligo, disappointing for St. Pat's, but a really great effort from both sides to get as far as they did.
Yeah, I suppose, Luke, we'll just go on to the games and the league now. UCD, massive games this weekend, or last weekend, so to speak, wasn't there really? UCD and Finn Harps. What a huge game that was. I think you said UCD win this match, and you're right, 2-1. Higgins and Caffrey with an absolutely brilliant finish, actually, after Mihailovic had given Harps an early lead in the game. UCD were level fairly quickly, actually, after going 1 down, and massive win for UCD. Leapfrog Finn Harps in the table, a point ahead of them. Just a huge win for UCD, really, wasn't it, Luke? And hugely disappointing for Harps on the back of a brilliant win last weekend.
Yeah, look, I called it. Like, I wasn't expecting. I just didn't think Finn Harps were going to back it up, and you know, I just couldn't see Finn Harps, you know, going to UCD and getting the win or getting a result just off the basis of, I think they got too high after they went against us, you know, against Drogheda. They would have been delighted with that. Their performance that night was excellent. You know, they was probably their best performance of the season, probably the best performance they will put in this season. You know, they didn't put a foot wrong. They were good for, you know, 85 plus minutes against Drogheda. The first few minutes of that game, they were quite sloppy, but once they got settled, they were very good. And then they go to UCD and, you know, they take an early lead. They would have been delighted with that. Mihailovic, good penalty, you know. I think it was a penalty as well. Look, you know, I think he does fell in the box. But as well, then, you know, Finn Harps would have been pleased with their start. And then, you know, after that, then Finn Harps done nothing. Like, didn't do enough. Do you know what I mean? They just, UCD looked the most threatening. Then after that, you know, there was a good few chances for UCD. Harps didn't really create an awful lot. You know, it was a lot of this, you know, play because they were 1-0 up trying to get the ball into Mihailovic and that, you know what I mean? And it just wasn't working. Like, and in the end, then, you know, second half, obviously UCD then get the equaliser. And then second half, it's a great goal. That second goal is ridiculous. Like, do you know what I mean? Top corner, like there was many good goals actually over the weekend, which we will talk about obviously. But that goal was just unbelievable. Top corner, you know, you couldn't have placed that better. But look, UCD would have been delighted with that. You know, they go ahead of Finn Harps again, like, and it wasn't a surprise because Finn Harps, look, they put in a good performance against Drogheda, but UCD were also equally as good against Drogheda that night, that day in Headingley Game Park. You know, UCD were excellent, like, and to be honest, with college not on at the minute, I think UCD training full time as well, which is worth noting. You know what I mean? They're going to have that upper hand over the likes of Finn Harps. So, you know, fair play to them, big win for them. And, you know, it's look, they've had 2 home wins in a row now. I know that one in the cup and one in the league, but they'll be delighted with that, you know. And I know that Andy Myler was happy with that as well. So look, you know, I mean, they couldn't have asked for any more there, and it's a great 3 points, you know, and it's the sort of game that they needed to win, you know.
Yeah, JP, at least for the likes of us, UCD people or Finn Harps fans certainly won't like it, but it is nice to see an actual race at the bottom of the table.
Aye, it does, because I think that the last 2 years it was foregone conclusion by this stage. But I have to admit, I fancied UCD in this game myself. I really did. Because as we saw so often this season with Finn Harps, they don't back up good results. And this is another one where they've absolutely outplayed Drogheda 1 week. They've got themselves 3 points clear, or 2 points clear, sorry, in the race for to avoid the drop, and they've got a brilliant opportunity to open up a gap between themselves and UCD, and they've absolutely blown it to shreds. So they have.
Even to take a point, JP, you'd say, you know, if we could get out there and at least get a point there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because if they get out there a point, they're still in the ascendant side, they're in the driving seat. And not more often than not, Finn Harps are always a team that you're looking at could potentially maybe take points off our teams.
Yeah.
Compared to UCD, but it's not the case. UCD are taking points off. It's UCD is the team that are most likely. Like I think they've taken 4 or 5 points off Sligo, and they've taken 7 off Finn Harps, and they've got a point off Drogheda. And it's baffling, really, from a Finn Harps perspective, as to how they can play so well against Drogheda and then go to UCD and not put on a performance. Like, they got the goal, and you're thinking, happy days here. We'll go win this game, and then 3 minutes later it's back on level terms. But I think from an Ollie Horgan point of view and a Finn Harps point of view is how quickly they conceded the equaliser. But not only that, but they were given an hour boost in the game when UCD went down to 10 men, and they didn't take it. And they conceded the second goal against 10 men. Like, I think, was it this season, the game at Dalymount Park, where Finn Harps had 9 players and scored an injury time to get a 2-2 draw. And that's the kind of fight that they don't have. Like, that's the kind of fight that they have maybe had back in that has been zapped completely out of them. Because in years gone by, you'd been expecting Finn Harps to go to UCD Bowl and get a win. And the 3 games against UCD this year, and they've 1 point, which was a 0-0 draw at the UCD Bowl earlier in the season. And fair play to UCD, because if you're going to stay up, you have to take points off of teams that are around you, and they've done that. They've done that brilliantly this year. And I don't know where Finn Harps go from here, because I think I'm lost for words, really. I am, and I don't know how Finn Harps fans are. I know I've seen somebody write on social media asking the club social media account if there's any chance of being a new manager in the dugout for Friday night. And I think that's where they're at. I think if they bring in a new manager now, it's to try and get a playoff and potentially look towards next season. But even if they get the playoffs, I can't see them surviving, no matter who they play in the playoff, whether it's Cork, Waterford, Galway, a team below that. I can see any team in the first division beating Finn Harps in the playoff. I think UCD probably have a better chance of staying up through the playoffs than what Finn Harps do, and that's just being brutally honest.
Yeah, it's a very messy situation for Finn Harps at the moment. It'll be interesting to see how they react. But it finished Derry City 0, Shamrock Rovers 0 at the Brandywell. And I suppose this will be seen as, look, I always say the target for Derry's top 3, but it'll be seen as a bit of a missed opportunity for Derry. I'll start off with JP with this one, actually, if that's all right, Luke. Obviously they missed the penalty through Will Patchin as well. And you know yourself, you're playing Shamrock Rovers and you get a situation like that, you just have to take it. Rovers will be pleased enough with the draw, considering the games in Europe, etc. Go to the Brandywell and get a draw against Derry, you're taking all day long. So I suppose, JP, I get you to talk about the perspective of Derry. Disappointed?
Yeah. Second half performance was probably one of the best performances I've seen this season. They really had Rovers pinned in. Now you can put that down to tiredness for Rovers, but you have to give credit to Derry as well. Like they never let up. The introduction of Michael Duffy it just like completely changed the whole.
On the hour, did he? About 60 minutes.
Slightly before the hour. The first half an hour of Shamrock Rovers were brilliant. They really were. Like they passed it about. Derry couldn't get near them. They were all over Derry. Like anytime Derry had the ball, they forced them on their mistake. Then there was a tackle from Sean Gannon on the halfway line. Now, and I'm telling you, if a referee sees this face on, Gannon's walking. He's seen it from behind the Derry player, which I think was Patchin. If he sees it from behind Sean Gannon, Gannon's gone. I'm telling you, they caught him high up the shin with a tackle. They waved play on for an advantage, which Derry ended up getting a corner at it. And that tackle the crowd was noisy at that stage, but that really sent the decibel levels sky high. And that's when the game started to turn in Derry's favour, because then Derry started to put Rovers under a bit of pressure, like getting in their faces and stuff like that, because I thought the first half an hour we showed them far too much respect, to be honest. We allowed them to dictate the play. Then after that tackle, Derry just sort of like, there was a spark in the Derry team. Patchin was fouled on the edge of the box. The resulting free kick is where the penalty came from, because McJanet was about to head the ball in the back of net, and I'm nearly sure that it was Sean Gannon who handled the ball. And if the referee had seen who it was, I think Gannon's gone again. Because I'm told that it was a linesman on the far side who actually awarded the penalty. Because it took Paul McLaughlin forever to point the spot. I think if he sees who who's putting the ball in the net. I think the players showing a second yet because McJanet's about to head the ball in the net. He's denied an obvious goal scoring opportunity. But look, no point looking at who should have been sent off or whatever. Patchen's got the penalty. He scored one earlier in the season against Alan Manis. He's gone the same way. Manis has read it. Patchen takes his penalties the exact same way. He never changes it. It's a bit like Jorginho at Chelsea. Eventually, you're going to miss. Eventually, you're going to miss one of them. As you say, you get an opportunity like that against Shamrock Rovers, you have to take it. And maybe on this occasion, maybe he should have rattled the back of the net rather than trying to do what he. But look, I'm not going to criticise him because he scored 9 out of 10 penalties for Derry. But second half, Derry were excellent. They've hit the post. They've had one blocked on the line. Manis has pulled off a great save from Duffy. We've had a couple of corners that just whistled wide of the post. So in the end, you're looking at it and saying it is an opportunity missed. It's 2 points dropped potentially because of the second half performance. And you don't get many chances. They put, because Rovers don't give you many chances, and any chances you do get, you have to take. But look, a very positive performance from Derry, which we've had 3 very positive performances against Rovers this year, and I think
notably, JP, correct me if I'm wrong, but McJanet went back to centre back, did he? And Call came in at left back, right?
Kieran Call came in. McJanet was in centre back. Kieran Call was left back. And there's just seemed to be a far better balance in the Derry team with McJanet playing centre back alongside Mark Conley. I think going forward, if they're paired together at the centre of defence, they can be a formidable pairing, because I think both of them are under contract for a couple of seasons anyway, so they can be a formidable pairing. And I can't talk about Derry's performance without talking about the performance of Sadhu Diallo. He was absolutely unbelievable, Keith, in the Derry midfield. He read every pass.
What is he, JP? Is he like, I've seen him once properly in the flesh, and that was I think the first match. I think his debut, like, he came in. Is he what you would call a defensive midfield player? What are you reading him like?
He gives you that impression, but he can also play. So he can. He's on a number of occasions he read where the pass was going from Shamrock Rovers player. Like he seen before the pass was even played, he read where it was going and he was able to intercept it. And then there was other occasions where he was able to intercept it, bring it forward, play a pass. Like his passing range is not just get the ball and play it 5 yards. He's able to. He can see a pass maybe 20 yards away, and he can play it, because sometimes he set Duffy away down the left hand side as well in the second half, and he was absolutely superb in that midfield. Like, and the fact that we've got him for 18 months as well is amazing, because it means we don't have to go in January looking for that type of player. I think we've already got that. Whenever you're a team that's on the up and you're looking to compare, like Derry are a team that want to be where Shamrock Rovers are, so we have to sort of look at them as a benchmark. The 3 performances that we've had against them, we're not too far away from being able to give them a proper challenge. Potentially, maybe an out-and-out goal scorer is probably what we need to really like threaten them next year, the year after. Hopefully next year, to be honest. But it was a really positive performance from Derry, and it's just something that they need to sort of take forward now for the rest of the season, and put that type of application in the rest of their games, because if they do, they'll win more games than they won't. Yeah,
I mean, Luke, from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, I suppose, where did they go from here? Like, they're 4 points ahead of Dundalk. I know they became in hand, and they're 8 points ahead of Derry. Like, they're not miles away from these teams in terms of being ahead, and we know how they're playing in Europe. They're still in Europe. They're going to be in a group stage as well. All that's going to be like an extra half season almost for all those games in Europe that Shamrock Rovers are going to have collectively. Do you think that can actually play into, I think they've got Dundalk at the weekend. We won't talk too much about that yet, but do you think that can play into the fact that Derry and Dundalk are still in it?
If they keep picking up results like that, then I don't think there's going to be an issue. Like, they're going to be more, obviously, more happy than Derry, like, you know, that type of way, because I've seen like Derry, the chances they had, and, you know, the penalty, and Patch won't be disappointed with himself, but, you know, he won't need anyone to sell him, you know, because as JP alluded to, like, he's 9 penalties out of 10, like, do you know what I mean? So he's not going to be worried about taking the next penalty or anything, like, you know, but he'll be disappointed he didn't score, like. But at the same time, look, I think Rovers are just going to be delighted that they didn't lose the game, and I said that, and you know, as long as they don't lose the game, I think that's the main thing here, you know what I mean? And don't play well, get a point, get a win, you know what I mean? And scrape by, you know what I mean? And that's what they done. Like, they didn't really play that well, and you could kind of tell they were leggy. You know, you could tell that they have been, you know, traveling and all to and from, you know what I mean? Like, it's been a tough week for them, you know, like with traveling and you know, getting back for to play on a Friday up in Derry, you know what I mean? It's not easy for them,
it's just a mental
you know,
thing as well. When you're in Europe and constantly having to worry about the games and it's playing Derry, it is a mental thing, like, big time as well, you know.
I fancy Derry to win the game because of that, you know what I mean? Like, it was always, you know, you come back after such a high of, you know, qualifying for a guarantee in a, you know, group stage, and then you realise, oh, we've got to play Derry now on Friday, you know what I mean? And it's a big game because they're not far behind us, you know what I mean? And we need to, you know, get a result here. And look, they got the result. Bradley would have been, you know, delighted that he got the result. I think Higgins wasn't impressed that he didn't win the game. And look, you don't blame him, you know what I mean? Because they had the chances, you know, Graydon had a great chance, you know, when he hit the post. Like, so look, Derry will be disappointed that they didn't win the game. It is definitely 2 points drop for them, but, you know, I think JP made a great point there. I don't think they're too far away, you know what I mean? And with the new signings that Derry have made, and mentioning your man Diallo and that, you know, Declan Glass, Mark Connolly, you know what I mean, and how well they've done since they've came in, like, so, you know, that's always a good sign, you know, when you get players in July and they hit the ground running like the three lads have. So look, or even Ryan Graydon as well, you know what I mean? Like, they've all played their part so far, you know, and Derry are on a decent run at the minute. So, you know, I think they're doing all right. So look, they'll be happy with where they are, and Rovers will just be. I think Rovers will be delighted with that result. To be quite honest, I just think, like, they didn't play too well. They probably didn't play good at all. To, you know, get a result up there, tough place to go, and to do what they done is very good. So, you know, I think it's a good point for Shamrock Rovers.
He also as well.
I think it just shows it where Derry have come over the last year or so, because this time last year, if we had gotten a draw away at Dundalk and a draw at home at Rovers, we would have been absolutely delighted. But this year, we're absolutely disappointed that we haven't got 6 points out of them games. So it just shows where we are, where we're looking to be as a club, that we know that we need to kind of find a way of winning them games.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think the big thing for Shamrock Rovers as well, that Jack Bourne got more minutes into the legs as well. So obviously they're easing him back. But with these European and League, could you imagine a situation where
he has to play?
You know, but you know what I mean? He has to be fit as well, though, because he keeps picking up muscle injuries.
Of course.
I think the calf has been an issue. But if they can get him back and firing, like, he's going to be like a new signing in many ways for their upcoming games, be it in Europe or be it in the league. Like, so that's huge for them, I think.
They've huge games coming up, like with the you know, they've got this week, they've got, you know, the big Europa League playoff. Then on Sunday, you know, that they're at home to Dundalk, and then Thursday they go again in the Europa League playoff, and then they've got Drogheda, you know what I mean, in the cup. Like, so, you know, they've got some big games coming up and some tough games as well, you know.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think normally the group stages are spread out over between September and December, but they're compact this time because of the World Cup in November. So
they want to get them through. They want to get them done before the World Cup. Yeah.
So Rovers are going to be like playing 3 to 4 games a week between now and the end of the season, and that's.
As I said before, JP, I know people say they have the squad, but even so, if you're rotating 4, 5, 6 players, cohesion gets lost a little bit. And not only that, I nearly think the mental thing about being in Europe, because your eyes, they do go off it a bit, like, you know, their mind wanders a bit when it comes to these league games as well. So that could be a thing. And, you know, if they can win the league, to be honest, with all those games, it'll kind of mean more to them, I think, than it would.
Probably the best.
Yeah.
I hope they take their eye off the cup anyways.
Like, you saw from the
exactly.
The 70th minute onwards that they were settling for a point because they were awarded a free kick deep into their own half, and Al Manis just like told everybody get up, and he just launched it. I says, somebody beside me is like, when do you ever see Shamrock Rovers doing that? Like, so you could tell at that stage that they just wanted to get out of there with what they had.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on ahead to game park. Finished Drogheda United 3, Shelbourne 1. I told you Luke Drogheda would win. Brennan with 2 goals, Rooney. Moylan giving Shelbourne an early lead. And of course, most people will know that Brennan and Rooney were Shells last year. And if you didn't know, you would have known after the weekend, to be fair, that they were Shells last year and that they were let go and that Kevin Doherty was happy to bring them into Drogheda, apparently. But yeah, 3-1, Drogheda United, Shelbourne. And I spoke how Shelbourne have been a bit of a bogey team, actually, for Drogheda, particularly heading to Game Park in recent years. But just a massive win for Drogheda after their bad defeat against Finn Harps the other week. And Shelbourne will be disappointed to lose the game. But yeah, Luke, take it from here.
Look, I just want to start off anyways. You probably let's just get it out of the way first. I think Duff has let himself down big time after this. He, like, after the game, he's not even shaking the manager's hand, like, doesn't even go over to the Shells fans as well. Like, and to be honest with you, that's just, I think Duff, he's played at such a high level, you know what I mean? He's been in dressing rooms with managers like Jose Mourinho, you know what I mean? And he's been around the dressing rooms, and he's been one of Ireland's, best players. He's done it all, really. And, I think he let himself down at the weekend there, I think he'll be just more disappointed with his team and that. And look, obviously, Ryan Brennan and Dale Rooney scoring, which I was delighted for them too, because after, probably what happened at the end of last season, being let go from Shells, but Drogheda were delighted to get the 2 lads in, and Ryan Brennan just doing what Ryan Brennan does, like, and that was just it. Like, I mean, his 2 goals are 2 great finishes. But Dale Rooney, he deserves a lot of credit. He's a workhorse for Drogheda, you know what I mean? And he does not stop. I can guarantee you that. He'd give 110% every single game he plays in. And for him to get the goal, I was delighted as well, and what a goal that was. Like, it's a serious goal of the season contender, you know what I mean? It's a great strike. But even Ryan Brennan's second goal as well is brilliant. But obviously then Duff's making a few comments about Ryan Brennan as well, which is, yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why he does it. Look, you've let go of the player, leave it at that. That's how I feel about that. But look, I won't talk any more about that because that's a different matter and that. But it's 3 points for Drogheda. It's the performance. They dominated Shells, you know what I mean? Shells, look, first 10 minutes, I think they'll be delighted with the start they had. Shells, they pressed from the top. They started really well, really brightly. Like, they were putting Drogheda under serious pressure. Like from the kickoff, like, they've come. But even from the kickoff, it's Drogheda started off and Sean Boyd's running at you, like, and he somehow manages to get a corner from the kickoff. I don't ask how. You know what I mean? And then he obviously, like, they get the goal, Georgie Poynton gets pressed high up, loses the ball. Moylan, of course, runs in, it's a good goal, fair play to Moylan and that. But after that, Shell's really done nothing, like nothing. Drogheda got settled and they looked really good. Like, it was just a great performance with Drogheda, they creating chances. Dale Rooney was getting crosses in, and then eventually, just before half time, the ball falls perfectly for Ryan Brennan. I think Dean Williams does really well to leave it from, and it's a great finish. You know what I mean? 1-1. Then obviously half time. I was very happy because we're back in the game, and I feel like if anyone's going to go on here and win the game, it's going to be Drogheda. And then obviously they start the second half excellent. Good balls into the box. Evan Weir, by the way, seriously, lads, left back. He was playing left back, and he was unbelievable, like, unbelievable. Some great ball crosses into the box, and eventually then, from a throw in, Dale Rooney has a shot which is blocked, and then it just falls perfectly from and he'll never hit probably never hit a volley better, you know what I mean? You don't save them, like, I don't think 2 goalkeepers would have saved it, to be honest. It was just a great goal. And then obviously 2-1, and it comes to around nearly, we're coming towards the end, and there's a corner, it's cleared away. Deegan does really well to get the ball to Quinn, and Quinn plays a perfect first time ball across to Ryan Brennan, and that finish, like, the technique of that finish to hit the ball into the ground, and top corner, like, it's just ridiculous, like. And he runs by Duff, and I think Brennan gets the last laugh, to be quite honest with you. And I was delighted for him, absolutely delighted for him, because he's just such a good player, like. To
be fair as well, I know a few Shells fans who thought that was hilarious as well. So you can't not think that's funny, like, it's funny.
Oh, no, of course, and he he had a great few years of Shells, you know what I mean? And he probably has nothing against the club of Shells. It's just the way Duff dealt with things towards the end, like at the start of this year, you know what I mean? And the way it was dealt with probably wasn't great, you know what I mean? But for net, like that's all, you know what I mean, done now, you know what I mean? And I think Brennan gets a good one there, you know what I mean? 2 goals against them, and Dale Rooney scoring as well. You know, it's brilliant, like, you know. And I think Drogheda were excellent. And even after they scored, even after Drogheda scored, they could have went on and scored more, to be honest. Shells didn't really lay a glove on Drogheda for most of the game.
Obviously Shelbourne started the game very, very well, but I know some Shells fans weren't impressed. I think Boyd he did go off after 17 minutes. He was forced off, and they brought John Ross Wilson on. But he changed the shape after Boyd went off. I think Shells fans were arguing, why didn't he bring Dan Carr on and leave the shape the way it was? And they felt that played into a little bit into Drogheda, say, coming back into the game. So I suppose that's an interesting fact as well. I know Luke was talking about Damien Duff and bits and pieces like that. And I just wonder if one or two things like that also, you know, maybe he felt he made a mistake there. I don't know. Who knows as well. But just your thoughts on that, I suppose.
It's a strange one because from memory, J.R. Wilson, he's a wing back or fullback, isn't he? So only Duff will know why he did it, to be honest. That I feel that
one would assume that, like Luke was at the game, I would assume he put Matty Smith up top, did he?
He did, yeah, he did.
Yeah, when that happened. So he obviously went to change the shape, like he decided to make that decision. And but then again, I was surprised by it. Are you surprised by it? He changed the shape when they were winning the game.
It's the sort of substitution you make when you're like comfortably winning a game, or like you're coming towards the end of a game.
Was he injured now, Luke? I thought he was injured, no?
Yeah, no, he was injured. He did say in his interview after the game. He did say in his interview after the game that he was, you know, carrying something during the week, but he said he was all right. But you know, I don't know.
But not only that, you're putting Matty Smith up top. He's a different type of player to what Sean Boyd is. Matty Smith's he's not gonna come and hold the ball up or one flick ons.
And Shells are a team that like to get crosses into the box from when I see them play generally.
So that's a strange one, and it looks like it has backfired on him massively. Because as Luke was there, he'll be able to tell us, is that the turning point in the game where Drogheda started to come back in the game, and like after that, then maybe Shelbourne couldn't get a grip of the game, and Drogheda put them to the sword. But it was a massive one for Drogheda because I think their last league win was against Dundalk. And they've drawn a couple since and lost to Finn Harps. So it was a massive one for Drogheda because they don't, even though they're probably, before his result anyway, they were probably safe anyway, because I can't say UCD or Finn Harps getting enough points. They catch them, never mind overtake them, but they still don't want their season just finishing on a lull. Like they want to like keep pushing and try and finish up as high as they possibly can. Like this result moved them within a point of Shelbourne. I think they're within 2 or 3 points of the Bows or something like that. Maybe
it's a few games in hand, all right, but
so they don't want their season just finishing, as I say, on a low. So great one for Drogheda, and they've been looking to use this, and like everybody has them as tipped from the start to be finishing the best of the rest, and eighth, you know what I mean. So they'll want to like use this result now and push on and the rest of the season and see if they can finish higher, because there's no reason why they can't.
Well, they're closer to fourth than they are to ninth, so that tells its own story, in my opinion, as well. So you know what I'm saying. But from Shelbourne's point of view, I know people are saying it, including myself, because they were in that race, but I just feel that maybe this was a little bit of a reality check that even though they're close enough to the European positions, or the possible European positions, when I say that, it's fourth really, they're probably not quite there yet, JP. Are they in reality?
No, they're a long way off that. So they are. I don't think they were ever really going to threaten the top four this year, even though they got on a good run that sort of put them in the talking points for it. I don't think they have the squad I don't think they have the quality within the squad, never mind the numbers. Although they have tried to rectify that in the window by bringing in the likes of Matty Smith and stuff like that. So, but in saying that, if they manage to end up finishing the season 8th, I think that would be a pretty disappointing season for Shelbourne, considering that the outlay that they have spent, and the fact that they've gone they've come up and they've gone full time. They've signed the likes of Mark Coyle and all that there, and they've brought Matty Smith in on loan from Derry. So if they finish 8th, it'll be, in my point of view, a disappointing season for Shelbourne, and that's the thing that they need to look at, is like, where for the outlay that they've spent, where is respectable for them to finish. Because in all honesty, I think a team that Shelbourne, for the ambitions that they say they have, they well, in saying that, getting promoted, a newly promoted team would always take 8th position, but not if you spent the way Shelbourne. I'm not saying that they've gone out and they've spent loads of money.
Yeah, I still think JP.
Yeah,
I still think JP, to be honest, they'd be content with they're going to stay in the Premier Division. Even if they finish 7th or 8th, it kind of doesn't make a difference to them, really. They'd be content with the season. But with how they might look to push on the next season, I think would be the key for them. But I think they'd be content enough with that, to be honest. But speaking of, I suppose, a little bit flattering to receive, Bohemians nailed Dundalk 1, Dalymount Park. It's gone down as a tie grind, I was at the game. It was very difficult to see what happened, but the ball, it just looked like the ball bounced over his head. Now I've seen it since, like, you know what I mean? But at the time I was a bit scratching my head, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't something you were thinking was going to happen. So it was just looked weird at the time. But he'd be very disappointed with that. But it was a strange game, because actually I was at the game, obviously. I thought the Dock were by far the better side in the first half, by far the better side, actually. Very comfortable on the ball. Midfield, they were, like, Lewis was actually excellent in this game. I said he had a bit of a baptism of fire in his first match when he came on as a sub a little bit, but he's brilliant in this game. Slog it with him. Adams, they completely dominated the Bowls midfield. In the end, Bowls probably should have got something out of the game, but that was helped by an Andy Boyle red card 52, which did change the dynamic of the game. Up to that point, the Dock were very comfortable, as I said, by far the better side. Boyle was a red card. I don't know if you've seen it. It was definitely a red card for
100%.
Yeah, Varian's running through, basically, and Boyle takes
that touch is ridiculous as well, by the way.
Oh, the little flick. Yeah, that was class, actually, to be fair. It was a little flick that got him away from him as well. And Boyle was at 67. The high line was something I've noticed with Dundalk in the last few games. They've kind of gone back to it. O'Donnell used to do a lot of passes, as I said before, and they've been good defensively. But the high line they're using again with Sam Bowen in defence, and against Derry, I thought it caused issue. The only difference was Derry kind of sat back a little bit in the second half for some reason in that game. But against Bowls, you can see it as well. The frustrating thing was, from your Bowls and a Bowls point of view, is that it was there to be played. But what Bowls were doing is they were holding on to the ball far too long. And by the time they were playing the ball, their players were 3 or 4 yards offside. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you could hear Bowls people getting. I was getting frustrated watching with myself, like, you know what I mean? And I'm there as a neutral, like, and I get frustrated. And they just didn't take advantage of that. But in the second half, when Boyle was sent off, as I said, the later it went on, they did create chances. Afolabi came on, he missed the fresh air shot. He should have scored, I think, and he also had the post. Few chances like that. One might have been cleared off the line as well. But Dundalk did well with the 10 men to get out there with the 3 points. Bowls just looked like a team like that. That was the first game at Dalymount for 6 weeks. And I thought some of their players, their new players, looked nervous. I thought it was their first game at Dalymount in front of the Dalymount crowd. I just thought that. And some of them, they weren't very impressive on the night, a lot of their new players, to be honest. You look like there's a lack of gelling, you know what I mean? Which you'd expect, but you can see it. It's funny because we talked about how they got a bounce with a couple of wins, a new player bounce. But they've come back to reality a little bit now. And a bit like Shelbourne, whereas they're not miles off the top 4, you just don't see Bowls being good enough or consistent enough to actually break into it, JP, really, do you?
No, I think one thing you have to remember too is they've lost James Talbot to injury, and I think that's a season ender as well. So he's a huge loss for them. Like you touched on there, the goal was potentially
he's very small, like Ty Grind. He's just, I don't want
avoidable.
Yeah.
And if I remember back to the Derry game, Joe Thompson's goal, that was the same keeper, wasn't it? He got caught no man's land.
Yeah,
So
that was quite right.
There's these things that you probably get away with in the first division, that whenever you come up against Alexa, Derry and Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers, that your decision making, if it's not spot on, you'll be caught out. And like for Bows, I think they overachieved, to be honest with you, for the last 3 years or so. And in overachieving, that saw other teams coming for their players, and now Keith Long's back to where he was a few years ago, and he's trying to build this team now. They threaten the top four, and right now I just don't see the quality within the team. I see the potential within the team, maybe with a wee bit more experience about them. Could get them back up there, but I just don't see the quality at the minute. I think they're sort of probably on par with Shelbourne.
My worry, JP, though, for them is that they brought in all these new players. And as I said before, I said on the show to Luke that I think it's with an eye for next season. The worry is if some of these players don't hit the level that's required, you know what I mean? That's most of their squad for next season. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
exactly,
others are possibly improve, and there's others better than them as it is. So over time, these players might impress more. But at the moment, like, it looks like it's a big job, like, you know, to get them integrated into the team, and whether they're good enough or not, you know.
Yeah, and it's a massive job, because we have to remember that they've lost practically their spine of their team, like this season. Like they lost Cornwall and Buckley, and they lost Georgie Kelly before the season started. Keith Ward as well, and then at the mid-season, then they've lost injury, they've lost Devoy, they've lost Promise as well, the England. So
Tierney as well is a big one, I think.
Massive loss, yeah.
So we have to remember that the third team,
and even Talbot, as you said, he's injured as well, so that just hits them in the crotch a bit more in that regard.
They've just been taken apart, really, to be honest with you, and it's a rebuilding job for Keith Long, and whether he can get them back to the levels that they were showing last year and the year before, it remains to be seen, because it's going to be very difficult with the money that's floating about the league at the minute. We know that the income Shamrock Rovers are going to get now from Europe. Derry's got money. Dundalk are back up there competing. St. Pat's have just had a good run in Europe.
But to be fair, JP, they have spent quite a bit in terms of wages for their players. So the question is, we don't know exactly yet, but are they, you know, getting the right players for the wages they're spending on? And that's going to be time.
Yeah.
I can only tell that in time.
It's exactly, it's all going down to, is the recruitment right? Are they just paying players for the sake of bringing them in because they think that, who knows, only people within Bows will know that. I just don't see them getting fourth place, but they could potentially get a cup run and be lucky and miss out the likes of Rovers, Derry, Dundalk, get a cup run. Who knows? Like, anything can happen in a one-off game, but I have to agree with you. I think they're pretty much in the same bracket as Shells, that they have the potential to threaten, but won't really break through.
Yeah, it will be interesting, as I said. From Dundalk's point of view, Luke, that's only the third away win of the season. They're 4 points behind Rovers, and I keep seeing people saying that Dundalk aren't that great of a side. They're not very impressive and all that. I think that's a bit harsh, I'll be honest with you, because I've seen them play quite a bit, and as I said, for 40 up to the send off, I thought they were miles better than Bows, to be honest with you. But not only that, they're one of the few teams, I would say, actually, apart from Rovers, that are capable of going and pinching wins or draws without being at their best, and that takes something. There's something there, a bit of character, a bit of experience, whatever you want to call it, a bit of balls, really, to be honest with you. And they definitely do have that, though, because I've seen it with them, and you know, they're probably not getting the respect that they deserve, if I'm honest, for that reason. But like, this is a good 3 points for them.
Oh, great 3 points. Jesus, it's you know, I seen Andy Boyle getting sent off, and you know, I was like, Bows could get back into this game. But look, it's I've said it about Bows the last few weeks. I still think they're a level off it. Still, you know, I still think they're not close enough to push the top four really, and even Sligo. Do you know what I mean? I still think they're a bit off. You know what I mean? Sligo, Pats, Dundalk, Derry, Rovers. You know what I mean? I still think they're a bit off them teams.
They're a good bit off there in Dundalk anyway.
Yeah, 100%, 110%. But I think as well, like even I think JP made a good point there. I think they are level par with Shelbourne. You know what I mean? I think they are level par. And look, I also agree with the whole thing of maybe, you know, have they signed the right players? I'm not convinced.
There's question marks. There is question marks there. Yeah,
I'm definitely not convinced about it so far, because look, I think, you know, a lot of the players they've signed a lot of players, which they probably they kind of had to do, but at the same time, like, are they signing these players just to make up the numbers? Are they going to really bring a better? I think they have signed some good players. I think, look, I know James Clark's a good player, and I know that your man Josh Kerr is a good player. I know your man O'Sullivan is a good player. You know, I don't know about the rest of them really. You know what I mean? Are they going to be Afalabi? We know he has potential to be good. You know what I mean? So we'll see what he's like, and obviously he'd done all right when he came on. He hit the post, and look, I think Bo's done everything in that second half. Will probably score. But you've got to take your chances if you have any chance against Dundalk.
I think the worry for them I think the worry for them, Luke, quickly, is that they needed that red card. If you get me, in the game, I think Dundalk would have won it comfortably had they had 11 on the pitch. If I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with that. No, I agree with that, because I haven't seen the highlights, but you see when they get the red card, it's Bowler peppering the Dundalk goal, like, you know what I mean? And you know, they've had chances. Shepherd's made a few decent saves.
To be fair, they should have.
Oh no, they should have.
Yeah, laid on.
No, 100% they should have. But they didn't, you know what I mean? And you know, they didn't take their chances, like, and when you don't take your chances against a team like Dundalk, you get punished. And it's pretty similar to Rovers. Like, I don't think Bows will get a better chance against Dundalk to get something from the game, because obviously, like, they're 1-0 and it's comfortable Dundalk and then Dundalk give up a red card, and then it's all Bows then, you know what I mean? They probably won't get a better chance again. But look, a great win for Dundalk. Seriously, like, it's a serious win to step up after the red card, and you know, they were throwing bodies on the line to not concede, and you know, they were making good blocks, getting good clearances away. They were just, Shepherd was on form. You know what I mean? The midfield, as I said, Lewis was very good. You know what I mean? Like, it's what they wanted, and you know,
like, they didn't have Lewis, for example, Luke, they didn't have Benson in the midfield. Hooban goes off injured. Like, most teams in the league are going to struggle in those situations.
Yeah. But even they bring on John Martin, like, do you know what I mean? And he caused trouble for the goal, like, do you know what I mean? And like, he's still a good player, like, do you know what I mean? So, like, Hoban is obviously one of the best strikers in the league, but like, when you're bringing on someone like John Martin, who still, I still think John Martin is a good player, like, that's what you want, like, do you know what I mean? The sort of depth there, like, but really good win for them, like, seriously. And I'd say their fans were delighted, like, and you know, you that's the sort of performance you want, like, especially when you get a red card, like, just to see the game out, you know what I mean, and not push too many men forward and just defend it and see what you can do, and they done that. So big 3 points for them, and you know, obviously, I think what you said, that was their third away win of the season. So,
yes,
it's probably not the best. It's mental. It's mental. It's probably not a great away form, but like, that's the sort of win they needed, and it'll give them confidence when they go away from Oriel Park, that they go away to these grounds. And look, they don't go to it doesn't get any easier for them. Like, they go away to Tala now, obviously, on Sunday. So, like, you know, they're gonna have to step up again. But look, you fancy Dundalk to beat anyone, like.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, actually. On Sunday then, St. Patrick's Day beat Sligo Rovers 1-0, and this was a massive game as well. Pats now 4 ahead of Sligo in 4th place. 6 behind Derry, which is a little bit quizzical as well. But Serge got the goal in 31 minutes for Pats after a mishap, let's say, in the Sligo defence. Blaney and McNicholas, communication seemed to be poor there. I don't think McNicholas needs to come flying out there, in my personal opinion. And Pats get the lead. It was a weird game because it was 2 teams in the back of Europe, and looking at it, it felt weird. Like, it was almost like a friendly for a while. The pace was very slow. The game, Sligo were happy to let Pats have the ball, and Pats, you know, weren't very incisive in creating. But when they did score, Sligo then came into it more as well. And you know, I didn't think it was going to finish 1-0 when it was 1-0 at half time, to be honest. But you know, both teams had chances in the second half. Mark Doyle gets the second red card of his career on 64 minutes. He was unlucky against Mora, but I have to say, this is straight red. It's a fair decision.
Mark Doyle, I've just known McDowell playing with Drogheda for years and like never got a red card, very rarely got a yellow card, and 2 red cards in 3 games. Actually, look, obviously, I think that the second one, the one yesterday was definitely a red card, but I actually kind of feel sorry for him because it's
it wasn't deliberate. It's not as if he's gone in to take the player out.
He's an honest player, and I've seen Tim.
The players come in and he stooped, and Mark Doyle's just put his foot up. It looks horrible because it's unfortunately for him. It's dangerous play. Like, it is dangerous play. It's not like he did on purpose, but it's dangerous play. So I can understand why people are sorry for him, but it's a straight red card, and he could have been seriously injured 100%. There. Let's be honest. And he did have a bit of blood in his head and that. So it's one of those things. It's unlucky for Mark, but it's the right decision. And you're thinking from a Pat's point of view, then they're going to have to try and see this out because these are the type of games, I've said it before, talk about grinding out results, Pats don't do. But to be fair, this was probably one of their best wins of the season in many ways because overall they weren't brilliant in the game, but they got the 3 points and they got it by hook or by crook. Sligo did have a few scary moments late on, which you'd expect for a team with 11 men having to push on and trying to get something out of the game because it's a defeat for them that they'd be disappointed with not getting a point out of, let's say. But it was a massive win for Pats. And I suppose disappointing overall for Sligo, JP.
Aye, because this is both teams are out of the cup. Both teams exited Europe at the same stage, and both will want to be back in Europe next year. And unfortunately, one of them is going to miss out, if not both of them. And the only way either of them can get in now is through the league. And try and get fourth. I know Pat, you touched on there. Pats are 6 points behind Derry, but it's hard to imagine that. It's hard to imagine that they would catch Derry. But look, anything can happen. Do
you think they're the best of the rest, JP?
I think they are. I think at the start of the season, we thought that anyway, that the Pats would be the best of the rest, and I think what the term was. Cian used mine earlier in the season was the most consistent of the inconsistent, and I think that's what Pats are, and I think that's what they'll continue to be over the course of the rest of the season. It gives them good breathing space between themselves and Sligo, and they've got the same amount of games played as Sligo as well, so they've no need to worry of looking over their shoulder and seeing how many games of Sligo won this, and then they're level with us and whatever, but. It gives them good breathing space, and like they need to kick on from this now, some Pats, and they don't want this result to go by the wayside and not count for anything.
The funny thing is, JP, when they had a position to kick, they were in this position actually before a couple of a month or two ago anyway, and they were in the position to possibly kick on. They went up to Finn Harps and were 2-0 up to 5 minutes to go, and ended up drawing 2-2. They actually were in a similar position to where they are now, and that was a great opportunity to kick on. They've UCD next Friday now, so I see similarities there. They kind of have to go and win that, that kind of way.
And you don't see them scoring 2 goals in the last 5 minutes, do you?
You would like to think that they've learned from that Finn Harps game. You'd like to think that their performances in Europe has made them a stronger team, has made them stronger mentally, physically. You would like to think that if they were to go to Ballybuffet and whatever, I don't think they have to go there again the rest of the season, but just hypothetical, if they were to go to Ballybuffet again this season, and they were 2-0 up, then they would see the game out, basically because of the performances in Europe. But as we know, you get that extra bit of adrenaline whenever you play in Europe, and then you're coming back to domestic football. There's a wee bit of a climb down, so
that's what this game was, actually, to be fair, for both teams a lot of time. I felt that watching the game,
so it was important that whoever won the game, it was going to be important that they won it in some Pats, because they were in the team in fourth. It was even more important that they won it, and they did that. As you say, they're away to UCD now next week. They were trailing 1-0 there earlier in the season and scored 2 late goals. I think one was an OG and the other was a penalty or something. So they'll want to go there and really make this result count for something. Because I think Sligo are up against Finn Harps in the showgrounds as well. I think it's in Finn Park. So it's massive for Pats to go beat UCD, because if they can do that, it ensures that they maintain that 4-point gap. If they don't, it allows Sligo to open up or close that gap again, and then all of a sudden they're back to square one, like where they were yesterday. And there's not a lot. We're heading in now to the final series of matches, and there won't be a lot of room for error between now and the end of the season for any team in the league. That goes for Rovers right down to Finn Harps at the bottom.
Yeah, Luke, I think what's interesting now for Pats and Sligo, suddenly they don't have European football and suddenly there's no FAI Cup football. So they can really focus on the last number of league games. So there's no excuses for, you know what I mean, let's say inconsistent performances because, you know, you're in Europe or you're in the Cup and you've got all these matches. So there's not really excuses. And from Sligo's point of view, they would have been disappointed because Keane was out injured for this game. I don't know the extent of the injury. Is he back soon? I haven't heard a thing actually, but I did think Max Mata was good in this game. He actually played up front. I'd like to see them play Mata and Keane more often together. I don't know why. They don't. A lot of the time, they have played occasionally, but a lot of the time it's Keane with O'Sullivan and Fitzgerald on the wing and Mata might be on the bench. Like, Mata is one of the better players, so he has to play with Keane more often if they're available, surely.
Well, yeah, surely you play your best players, like, you know what I mean? And he probably has. Look, obviously, Keane is probably their top goal scorer, and it is Mata, I think it is.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like you have to play them together. Like, imagine the sort of, look, I can see why he doesn't.
Mata can play off him, but Mata can play off him. He's that type of player. So they're not two of the same or anything like that. You know what I mean?
No, I know, but look, sometimes you'd be surprised. You know what I mean, with the way sort of some players play together, and you know, maybe Mata's better off coming off the bench, or Keane is better off coming off the bench. You wouldn't know what way they sort of approach it, or what way even training, or you know, little things like that. You know, that type of way. But look, I'd be very interested now to see what way they approach the rest of the season, Sligo, because look, they'd be disappointed they didn't score. And by the way, the Pats keeper, fair play to him. You know, he comes straight into the team and he done really well. Like
Danny Rogers, it was a very good debut for a new goalkeeper. And
where did he come from?
Left. Oldham. He was at Oldham, that was the last club, but he played a lot of games in Scotland for Kilmarnock and a lot of teams. That's his experience. 28-year-old. And obviously, for anyone who's watching doesn't know, Anang has gone back to West Ham because they're sending him out to Derby. So,
Derby announced that yesterday.
I'm very interested to see what way both teams will go for it now. Look, Pats should go for third. Go for it. Like, you've nothing else to focus on. Try and catch Derry, you know, try and get a bit closer to Dundalk, whatever. But, you know, I can't see them doing it. It is, you know, a big gap, and Derry seem to be getting stronger. But Pats need it now. Look, they've sold
to do that, Luke. Sorry, Luke, Cross. If they do that, they probably have to win 4 or 5 games in a row, to be honest. If they're to do that.
Yeah, but like,
which is difficult.
Yeah, no, it is difficult, but you wouldn't know with Pats. Like, do you know what I mean? You don't really know what you're expecting with them. That's the sort of win. No, it is. But look, as well, they could turn out winning a few games in a row. You wouldn't know. But I think as well now, the good thing about Pats is that sort of win was the Pats we haven't seen at all this season. You can't really think of a win where Pats were like, they just got through that game, you know what I mean? And they got 3 points and didn't play well. Maybe they didn't play too good, but they got the... Exactly, and Tim did say that in his interview after the game. So, look, I think it's a great win for Pats, great 3 points. You know, look, going into the game, the place, look, let's be honest, the place looked pretty dead. You know, there's a good few empty seats from what I see, but look, that's, you know, it's a Sunday, it's an awkward one, you know what I mean? I can understand, you know, maybe Pats fans, whatever, but you know, it did look dead, and to be fair, the Pats lads wouldn't have minded too much that they just got through that game, and they'll be delighted with the 3 points, and they wouldn't have cared about anything else. Like, and look, it's 3 points, and you know, fair play to look. I think the goal, I think Sligo, the defender and the keeper both do really poorly. But Serge is there, you know what I mean? You've got to be there. You've got to follow it in. You've got to gamble, and he gambled, and he got the reward for it, like he did against CSKA. So, you know, we have to give credit to Serge. I think he could have had more goals to his name though for Pats this season, but he seems to be getting in the right areas. But if he can sort of work on that clinical side of him, you do have a serious player there, to be quite honest, because he's very fast and he's quite skillful as well. So if you can keep getting him in the right areas, and even bringing on Tunde, you know, added a different sort of dimension for Pats as well. You know, he was causing them problems, you know, he was doing the right things, and I think, you know, he got in there, he probably could have squared the ball to Forrester, but he ended up missing. But look, you know, when you've got these lads coming on and that, you know, it's always good for Pats. But you know, the Doyler incident, couldn't believe it, to be honest, when I seen it. 2 red cards in 3 games for the fella. Like, never gotten a red card in his career before the CSK, before he got one against Miura. Got a good few games. I think he got, what was the ban he actually got for the Miura one? I think it was 3 games, wasn't it?
I think it was 2 or 3 games. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly.
I think it was
2 or 3 anyway. Yeah.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, that was harsh. That was completely harsh.
It was very harsh. You'd be interested to see that Pat's appeal that. I'd be interested to know if Pat's appeal that. You wouldn't know if they did or not, but this one, look, it is a red card. There's no other way, and I do feel sorry for Doyler because he's an honest player and he's always, never really on the referee's back or anything. But it is pretty reckless, you know what I mean? And it's not even meant to do it, but he's going for a 50-50 ball, your man. But it's dangerous play, and it is a red card. But look, Pat's got through the game, 3 points, and the defending. By the way, Joe Redmond, unbelievable.
Oh,
he is I seen him with Drogheda for the 4 or 5 months we had of him.
I was impressed with him with Drogheda as well. Like Pat's even saying to me, "Is he any good?" and all this kind of thing. I said to him, "No, he's very good," but he's actually exceeded my expectations as well. He's done better than even I thought.
Yeah, he's gone up a level, and I think the whole thing of captain gives him another thing, and he's Pat's fan and that. And I knew he was a Pats fan when he signed for us, actually. But look, he's a brilliant player and a serious player. He was winning everything. He was winning everything. I say if there was a stone thrown at me, he'd head it away. He's quality. I think
really, commentary they mentioned airplanes at Dublin Airport are being headed away by Joe Redmond or something.
Didn't get that, to be honest. If I'll be honest, I didn't really get that.
Anyway, look, guys, thanks for coming on. We'll leave it there. That was brilliant. Cheers. Subscribe, guys. Hit your bell notification button. Let us know what you think of the comments. Plenty of big games there over the weekend and plenty of talking points. Cheers again, guys.
Cheers.